this came out in 2007. So how long ago is that?
Well, that would be 17 years.
So for 17 years, I've wanted to say this.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! I'm not a kid!
I've wanted to say that for 17 years, Rob. And you know what I can say today? I'm a man! I'm 40! I'm not a kid!
You have been wanting to say that for longer than at least 4 of our players have been alive.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Come down in 3, 2, 1. Good week once again. Welcome to another edition of the Weekly Harvest Podcast. This one is episode 87 as we inch ever so closer to number 100 on a day that has no other milestone significance. Rob, how are you?
Doing pretty well, and I don't know why you'd even bring up the lack of milestone significance since there is no significant milestone to... Wait a minute.
Not at all today. How you doing? My name is Chris Falkavich. You can call me Falko, Director of Game Day Ops, Community Relations with the Brandon Wheat Kings. He is the radio voice of the Wheat Kings, Rob Man. And Rob, here we are back in the Wheat Kings studio on a normal Tuesday.
Perfectly normal. Nothing at all abnormal about it. Well, except for the minus 20 weather, but actually even that's getting normal.
Yes. And the fact there's a couple of very cool jerseys sitting beside you right now as well.
Feels very fitting that on podcast number 87, a number that we associate with a soon-to-be NHL Hall of Famer, we got a couple of Hall of Famers of our own here on the pod.
We have got Bryan Trottier and Bernie Nicholls on today's podcast. Of course, Bryan Trottier is a member of the NHL Hall of Fame. Bernie Nicholls, one of only, I think, 8 players with over 1,000 points who isn't in yet. That's going to be rectified. You got to figure soon.
New Hall of Fame committee coming up for the NHL, and I have a prime candidate for their first batch.
So we have got a very special guest today, as you can tell, because the guys were in town for the big Legends game on Saturday night, where we let the cat out of the bag. If you're a podcast listener, you already heard this news last week, so you're in the know now. But, of course, the big announcement was that's going to be Team Bryan versus Team Bryan. We got Prop versus Trottier coming back here in March, which, I mean, for the Wheat King fans, Rob, this is going to be just an overload of memories when they see guys like that are their childhood heroes, and just wait till, again, all the listed names actually come out.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be an incredible list. I did manage to get a little teeny tiny bit of a sneak peek when we were chatting with some of the good folks running this, and I will say that Wheat Kings fans, you are going to be impressed. You are going to be excited. You are going to be nostalgic. You're going to have a great time. And
the only reason why, even on the pod, we won't tell you some of the names right now is only because things are literally not signed yet. There's been commitments. There's been emails. We know these are good guys and things are, in motion. But until those things are signed on the dotted line, we just don't want to jinx it. It's like in hockey. You never want to say that dreaded word before it actually happens. So it's same thing across sports. So again, we're not superstitious, but we are a little stitious around here. So we got to make sure to keep that in mind, but it is going to be an awesome event. But even just for that one night, Rob, to get these two gentlemen here, and it was a great night for every fan who got to meet these guys. Talk about the perfect ambassadors to the sport. Bernie Nicholls and Bryan Trottier, they made a lot of new fans here on Saturday.
Absolute gentlemen, the both of them. And you'll see it in a minute for yourselves. They're both tremendous human beings, very much in sync with the idea that they are people's hockey heroes, or that they might be somebody's dad's hockey heroes, as they'll tell us in a minute, but they understand the mantle that comes with that. They understand the responsibility that comes with that, and I think they're examples of people who fully embrace that. And they're the kind of guys who, when I look into the Wheat Kings dressing room, and I see guys who might one day, or who even now are some kids' hockey heroes, there's an element of class that Trottier and Nicholls both brought that I think we would certainly hope to see the Wheat Kings emulate.
There was a very special moment actually before the game where Bernie Nicholls and Bryan Trottier, they got to go and they got to speak to both teams. Now, of course, Bryan Trottier was a member of the Swift Current Broncos who was in town, so that was actually pretty cool for him to get to go and talk to his former club. We didn't get access to what was spoken in that room, but of course in our dressing room we did actually, and we're lucky enough. Rob, I don't know if you know this or not yet, but we put our photographer in the dressing room and he actually recorded the video. So I just got the video and I watched it. I've got to show you after. Oh, my mic spun there. I gotta show you after the pod. I'm even thinking right now, it really could be worth it for us just to literally play it, but it's just over 6 minutes long. But it's a great 6 minutes. I was gonna edit it down into this video and release it on social, but to hear these guys talk, it was really, really cool.
And what they said, boy, did it work, because the Wheat Kings roared out of the gate against the Swift Current Broncos. The second period was statistically the best, but the first was no slouch. It was really only the third where things began to crumble a little bit, but the Wheat Kings still got a pretty impressive win. Whatever was said in that room, the joke around the Wheat Kings room afterwards, we got to find out how much money it cost to get Bryan Trottier and Bernie Nicholls to follow the team around for a little bit, maybe bring them on this road trip to Alberta with us.
You know what we're going to do? I got the video right here. I mean, you're a podcast listener. You want the behind the scenes. So if I put it out on social, it's going to be an edited down version. So I'm going to push play on the video here. The actual video itself, I would put that on the video portion of the podcast, but obviously we didn't plan ahead for this one. But I think this is really cool audio that you'll get to hear what the message was said during the game. So push play. So right now, this is the guys walking into the dressing room. You have Marty kind of leading the way, followed by the legends and then the assistant coaches.
I think you mean the legends and then the other legends.
Right.
Kind of a hockey nerd growing up here, so it's a big honor for me to introduce a couple of hockey legends here that are in tonight to help us with the starting lineup and say a few words. Guy running around here giving Nux had a tremendous NHL career, over 1,100 games, 1,200 points, 475 goals, career best 70 goals, 80 assists, 150 points with the LA Kings back in 88-89. Three-time NHL All-Star. Warm welcome, Mr. Bernie Nicholls. This gentleman here played in the Western Hockey League. Don't hold against. He's an alumni of the Broncos here, so we won't hold it against him here tonight. But this guy played over 1,200 NHL games, over 1,400 points, won every award, every trophy under the sun, including the Art Ross, the Conn Smythe, the Hart, and 6 of the big ones. 6 Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. NHL Hall of Famer, please welcome Mr. Bryan Trottier. Turn the floor over to you fellas.
Well, I want to thank Coach Marty and the staff and the organization. We met Mr. Jacobs. It's just fantastic, guys. The hospitality. I did not play in Brandon. I played against the Brandon Wheat Kings. I played for the Swift Current Broncos. I did play in the Dub. Probably the most important developmental years of my career. Some of the bonds I made in junior hockey are still some of my very, very best friends. The bond you make in hockey, obviously, is because you care about each other. And the chemistry and the culture that you have in this locker room stays with you forever. Carry that forever and continue to play like that. Play your hearts out. I told my sons, I had 2 boys play hockey. I said, play your hearts out, trust your instincts, and be the hardest worker when you leave the ice. Don't leave anything on the ice. And you do those 3 things, a lot of good things are going to happen, guys. Proud to be here with Bernie. Bernie and I have done a lot of stuff over the years. We played against each other, but it's fun to have that alumni support. And you guys will be part of a really proud alumni here with the Brandon Wheat Kings. So just want to wish you guys the very, very best. Not only tonight, but like every night you play. Just bring your very best every night. It's not just in the games, it's practice. It's how you conduct yourself. It's your behavior. It's how you treat each other, how people look at you. Just be mindful of that all the time. When you're mindful of that, good things are going to happen. I stole that word mindful from my friend Jaromir Jagr. So Jaromir Jagr spoke no English when he came to America, and he was my roommate. And I think we got a young Czechoslovakian on the team.
Yep, right over there, Mr. Peter.
So Jaromir taught me the word mindful because I would always remind him. I'd remind him of things that he had to do on the ice. Like, Jaromir, remember, you want the puck, give me a yell. Jaromir, remind him of, you're in our zone, your defenseman, be close enough to check him. And he goes, I will be mindful. I said, I love that word. So you guys be mindful and really cherish these years. They're going to be great years. I know that you guys will be a proud alumni, like we are, great ambassadors of the game. So I'll let Bernie say a few words, but before that, can we just go around and introduce the boys? Can they say their names and where they're from?
Absolutely, yep.
Carson Bjornsson, goalie from Carberry, Manitoba, just on the road.
Very good.
Ethan Metzger from Calgary.
Caleb Hadlin from Red Deer.
Right there.
Ben Vandenord from Calgary.
Calgary.
Brady Churchill from McCurry, Manitoba.
Dominic Peter from Australia. Czech Republic.
Easton Olet from Dauphin, Manitoba.
Mateo Nicholls, Dallas, Texas.
Texas. Oh, you lost.
Nolan Flam in Saskatchewan.
Saskatoon.
Carter Klippenstein, Lethbridge, Alberta.
Jackson Jacobson, Bryan Trottier.
Brandon.
Mark Swin, Calgary, Alberta.
Calgary.
Nicholas Johnson, Calgary, Alberta.
Nicholas.
Luke Shipley, Powell River, BC.
Nigel Bain from Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Dylan Ronald from Clive, Alberta.
George Pentels from Victoria, BC.
Quinn Manti from Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Adam Berusko from Košice, Slovakia.
Oh, you're lost too.
Calgary, Alberta.
Calgary, Alberta. Pleasure to meet you guys. Okay. While Bertie's talking, I'm going to pass these rings around. I brought a Stanley Cup ring for Pittsburgh and the Hall of Fame ring. You can dream about scoring your first goal and playing your first game, but you don't dare dream about making the Hall of Fame. But that's the Hall of Fame ring from '97, and that's the Stanley Cup ring. Just pass them around.
He's only got 7 of those Stanley Cup rings.
Yeah, not enough. That's never enough.
What is it, coach?
We bumped into Henry Richard, and Henry Richard has 11 Stanley Cups. And he played for the Montreal Canadiens, and he is a dapper fella. He's a handsome man, and he's getting an award. And so nobody's paying any attention to him. So I go, Henry, congratulations, Bryan Trottier. What a great career, 11 Stanley Cups. He looked up at me, he goes, Brett Jackson, he goes, Bryan, it should be 12. We should have beat the Maple Leafs in '67. He was still mad about it. You had 11 cups. You're never enough. So never get satisfied, guys. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, no, boys, I just echo what Brian said, right? Like this time of your life, it's awesome. You know, we've all had the same dream, and I tell people, playing junior, there's only one more step, right? And it's the show. And, you know, you work hard every day. Like Brian said, do what he said there, and play hard, work hard, and dream big, and chances are good. You know, like I said, next step for you guys is the NHL. And I wish you all the best. I wish you the best tonight and in the future. But Brian, he said a lot of good things there. He'd be one to listen to. Like I said, 6 Stanley Cups, the player wants to coach, not bad. Yeah.
Well, again, just on behalf of the organization, guys, thanks for coming. You know, you guys, it's a big deal. These guys are the McDavid's, Dry Settles of their era here. It's a big deal, and we thank you for sharing a few minutes with us. So, thanks again, guys.
And then they went out and they won 7-3, Rob.
Yeah, the speech worked. The speech really, really did work. If you're ever thinking to yourself, those motivational speakers, the guys who do this professionally, can't really make all that big of a difference, can it? Well,
I don't know. I mean, they must have been fired up anyway after what happened on Friday night, of course. They wanted to have a big bounce-back game and versus a division rival even more so. But, I mean, that's got to help. It's got to help when before the game you have those kind of guys in there, where between them, there's well over 2,500 NHL points. And, I mean, 8 Stanley Cups. There's a big legacy there.
No question about it. No question.
Pretty special, pretty awesome. But and the coolest part about this is we get to welcome these guys back later on in the year. But right now, you already heard them talk, and we are going to get into that interview very shortly. But let's talk about the games this weekend, Rob, because it was a tale of 2 completely different efforts on the ice, it seemed, or at least, I shouldn't say efforts, but styles of game. And it was a very daunting game to find any room on the ice. I found on watching on Friday night versus Tri-City compared to the open ice on both sides for the plays that we got to see on Saturday.
And it was diplomatic of you not to say different efforts, but I think if you asked the Wheat Kings, they probably would say it was. They were really not happy with themselves after Friday night to a man. Ask any player, any coach, none of them were happy. It was probably the most universally disappointed in themselves I had seen the team. So you knew they were going to come out with a fire in their belly the next night because the Tri-City game, by their own admission, wasn't good enough. If you look at the shots on goal and the score, you might think to yourself, okay, Tri-City was the better team. But there were some moments for the Wheat Kings. Almost all those moments came in the third period. The first 2 were kind of a wash. There wasn't really anything that went right for the team there. They did a lot of things poorly that they usually do well. They didn't really correct a lot of mistakes that have cropped up in their game. Whether you talk to Marty Murray, whether you talk to the players, nobody was happy. So it was quite fitting that the next night out, a lot more people were a lot happier.
And it was a fun game for the fans, who not only had the Hall of Famers in the crowd, you getting to meet, interact with them, but you got to hear a whole lot of different goal songs from different guys and having a whole lot of fun with those goals. Took their foot off the gas a little bit in the third period. I mean, by nature, when you're up 6-0 after 2 periods of play, the third could go one of two ways. Either it's going to be an absolute fight fest, which we had a little bit of physicality, but it wasn't as if it was like a gong show by any means. Control was not lost. Or what happened is you just take your foot off the gas a little bit, give up a couple of chances, and they make it a little bit closer. But when you're up that much, thankfully, it was far enough in the rearview mirror, there was no coming back for the Broncos.
Yeah, the third period won't be one the Wheat Kings are going to be super happy with, and I think their biggest source of disappointment would be that they left Carson Bjarnason out to dry a little bit on a couple of the goals after he was so good for them the night before, because when I say nobody was happy with their effort the previous night, I would exempt Carson Bjarnason and his 42 saves from that statement. But he was, doing really well for the team through 2 periods, and then on the third, they kind of left him out to dry on a couple of occasions, and they'd want to do better there. But that is the extent of the bad news. It's nitpickery on my part, because they scored more goals than they have any other game this year. You had 6 different goal scorers. Marcus Gwynn scored twice. You had a first Western Hockey League goal to remember from Nigel Bame. And you had guys sticking up for each other when they needed to. In a lot of ways, the first 40 minutes were the perfect bounce-back game.
The one thing to take away, the positive on Friday night, was Carson's performance. And when it came to us picking the Metagas saves of the week for the social media thing that we do at the start of the week, I was looking back at all the highlights, and I was saying, I don't know if I should pick this save or this save. And a few times we've done that. We're like, let's be cheeky and just say the saves of the week. I think this was the most, though, we counted. There was 10 saves in that package out of his 42. 10 great saves. I mean, there was one play where he made 4 stops on that one play where they got hemmed in their zone a little bit. The 2-point shots, then coming in, and multiple rebounds. Carson was stopping the first, second, and third shots. It was the 4th one that was going in. And even at, my kids' level, at U11 hockey, the coaches are saying, kids, the goalie can stop the first or the second, but by 3, 4, 5, 6, you gotta help get that puck out of the house. And you could tell on Saturday there was a lot more of that. So.
I'll say here what I said on social media, and that is that the case for Carson Bjarnason to be at the World Juniors for Team Canada, not that we're trying to get rid of him, but the fact that he should be at that tournament has never been clearer than it is right now. He is so far ahead of maybe any goalie in the Western Hockey League right now, and so far ahead, to my mind, of anybody who is challenging him for that spot. If he has a good camp with Canada, the job's his, and he deserves it.
I mean, the only thing the reason I stutter there and pause is because I feel that too, but also we're so exposed to him that we see all of these positives, and we see what he's dealing with, and how much he can bounce back in some of these situations that you would see play on that big stage. But then you hear some of the pundits, and again, I'm not hearing his name, but some names, that I want to hear them say his name more already. I'm like, where is this love? It should be coming from more people than besides some of the Flyers beat writers and locally. I want to hear some of the national guys start to say it, and they're not saying his name as much yet. But, of course, this is the time, though, right now, right? Invites are about to go out here in early December, and we still have not heard anything from Team Canada.
I will say that The Athletic and Daily Faceoff have both released lists for what they predict the World Junior roster for Team Canada will look like. Both of them predicted Carson Bjarnason would be there, and I think pretty justifiably so.
I think it's got to be given as well. I'm with you. I agree on that. Craig Button calling you out, man. I don't know where his name was on your last report, but you're definitely missing out on that one. So, but we're gonna wait and see. And he's gonna be going to camp, right? That's we know that. But from there, what happens? And it's gonna be completely, who knows, right? I mean, it all depends on how you perform there. But it was a great performance for him on Friday night. One other takeaway is the blocked shots. Remember a couple of podcasts ago, somebody was making fun of Dom, saying that they don't think Dom Peter would make the best defenseman because they don't know if he's going to get into the shooting lane as much.
I think he heard them.
I think maybe he heard the podcast, or somebody relayed that message onto him or something, at least, because in a couple of PKs there, I think he blocked about 6 shots.
I think officially he was credited with 6 or 8 that one game alone against Tri-City, and these were not gentle shots he was getting in front of. Jackson Smith took a couple of them. He was getting into the lanes, and you know what? When a guy who's that skilled is willing to sacrifice his body for the team, it has that real trickle-down effect. Everybody says, okay, if Dominic Peter is not too good to block shots, ain't nobody too good to block shots. We've all got to pitch in.
Then on Saturday, again, that huge bounce back. So the players on Saturday that made me feel the most joy, Nigel Boehm and that first career goal. I love watching the bench when stuff like that happens. The instant reaction for them all to just jump up, and you can see the smiles from across the rink, like where we are. We're in the press box across from our home bench, and you can see the smiles as clear as day, and everybody's super pumped for him to get back to the bench and giving him the kudos, and it's a very special moment. But Rob, they talk about no matter what, of course, you're going to remember your first goal in whatever league or as you move up. There's a lot of first WHL goals that are ones to forget for some players for various reasons. It's a weird tip-in or it's an empty netter or whatever. But this was a nice goal from Nigel Boehm.
He scored a beautiful goal for his first Western Hockey League goal. Great rush, great awareness. He shielded the puck well. He was skating well. There's confidence there. And he's the kind of guy who, because of the way he plays, he doesn't need to pile up points to be effective. He is a good defensive defenseman, but if he's going to skate like that, the points are going to come. As Marty Murray pointed out to me, it's strange looking at how well he skates and how hard he shoots. It's strange to think he hadn't actually scored a goal since 2022-23. Because in 23-24, he played with the Saskatoon Contacts. He didn't score. So, curious little statistical note, he shares a weird coincidental stat with Quinn Manti. Neither of them scored a goal in the AAA ranks in their career.
Huh.
And yet, here they both are.
Seems to work out. That's okay. So, for those who missed it, who haven't seen the clip yet, give the broadcaster play-by-play of the goal.
Well, Nigel Boehm takes the handoff at center, I would say right in front of the Bronco bench, kind of around the red line. And as soon as he gets the handoff, he's looking to pass, but the Broncos are looking for him to pass. And he sees a lane up the near side, up the inside, and says, "Oh, okay, I'll take it. Sure, you guys want to give me this much time and space? I'll take it from you." As he's driving wide, a defenseman does close on him and try to seal him off. Nigel just extends his reach, just keeps the puck out of the defenseman's reach, takes it around the net, wraps it out front, and then from probably the bottom of the right circle, just spins and throws it on the goal. By the time he does that, Nick Johnson and Marcus Wynn are close in the vicinity, kind of so are a couple of Bronco defenders, so Nigel is throwing it to the front of the net, maybe hoping for a little chaos, but he catches Joey Rocha moving a little too fast from his left to his right, and on the lower left side of the net it slides in. It's a pretty goal.
That's a great description. Look at you. See, that's why I went to you, because I was going to be like, yeah, and then Nigel kind of came around left and went around the net and wrapped around, but that was much better. But yes,
I have one talent and I milk it for all it's worth, darn it.
Love it. Fantastic. So there you go. That's the play-by-play replayed of Nigel Boehm's first career WHL goal, which is one to remember. That was awesome. I really like giving, even if it's the away team, giving the credit as the PA announcer when it's the first career goal, and we've done that here, right? It happened on when was it for the away team? It wasn't this past weekend. The weekend before, there was some player.
Regina had Cameron Kuzma.
So it was his first career WHL goal. Again, I do that in that stat digging beforehand. Knew that. Of course, it's a little more subdued when I'm announcing it, but still want to give those kids their props. That's a big milestone. When it's our player, of course, it gets the big announcement, and it got a good cheer from the crowd as well, as they all obviously they all appreciate that. But it was a big game for him, and not only that, but ends up one of the stars of the game as well. So
picked up an assist in the third period too, and not a meaningless assist either. I wouldn't say. At that time, the Broncos had rattled off 3 straight goals.
It was 6-3. Yeah.
Time was ticking down, so it was unlikely that the Broncos were going to have time to get back. But boy, they were making it interesting, more interesting than I think the Wheat Kings wanted, and then Mateo Michaels gets a goal that sort of just cuts the momentum off, just stems the tide, and the Wheat Kings kind of go into cruise control from there. The game ends 7-3. Nigel Boehm's assist on that goal proved pretty important.
And there you go. It was a big night for him. We have got more to talk about, as we have got a big game coming up in the annual Teddy Bear Toss game. We have got Christmas break looming just around the corner, and we got some more news that we're going to be talking about with a couple of jersey announcements. I'm not sure if anybody else has noticed anything weird about our jerseys lately, but we're going to delve into that in the second half of the pod. Right now, we are going to be talking to the guys who are wearing the jerseys right beside Rob. By the way, the jersey on the video that's sitting beside Rob right now, it is the New York Islander jersey and the LA King jersey that Mr. Trottier and Mr. Nicholls were both wearing at the game that they did a great job on the back autographing about some of their career stats and of course their signature as well. Those jerseys they left for us to auction off for the team. So we're going to be actually auctioning off these jerseys with all the money going to the Wheat King Player Foundation. So thank you to them, but they're a couple of beautiful jerseys. So for any fans listening, keep your eye locked on our social medias. We're going to be doing a online auction for them. Right now, though, let's talk to the guys who were wearing those. Rob, who were right here in the studio with us on Saturday night. It was a great chat. Time to play it. And joining us now live in the Wheat King studio on the Weekly Harvest podcast, we got ourselves a couple of NHL legends who, we've been talking about the game and about, the big announcement coming up. And then here they are now live. It's great to have right in front of us Bryan Trottier and Bernie Nicholls. Welcome to the studio, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you.
And I guess not just welcome to the studio, welcome to the Wheat City.
Yeah, it is a nice little chilly moment here in Brandon. Holy cow, we walked in, I had my Pittsburgh outfit on. I was like, okay, I'm throwing another layer on, but no, it's a welcome to the prairies and that little prairie breeze. It was great.
So going back, Bryan, you have been here before, of course, as a player. I mean, you've been here since numerous times as well, but as a player, you got to play in the Wheat City. Going back, was that in the Keystone or before? That was before, right?
The old Keystone, yep. Yeah, it was a great building. We went even, I think prior to that, what was the building called before that?
The Manx.
Yeah, and it had the wire mesh on the end zones, and that was like a throwback from the old arenas. There's no plexiglass. So then we moved into the Keystone Center. It was like state of the art for us. We're like, wow, this is spectacular. We're playing against guys like Rick Blight and Ron Chipperfield. So we're chasing them guys around the ice here, and they were putting up big numbers in those days. So it was really kind of a great challenge and just really wonderful memories because the building was always packed. It was a great atmosphere, and it seemed like it was a bigger arena than most of the arenas in the league because the old Swift Arena, I think we held like maybe 1,800, 2,000. We'd come here and it was just like a monster building, like an NHL building. We're like, whoa, this is awesome.
Bernie, I know you've got Haliburton, Ontario roots, but it's not like the Prairies have a monopoly on the small town old school arenas. Do you remember playing in rinks like this when you were coming up to the junior ranks?
Yeah, where I grew up was a real small town, and every team we played against, all growing up, was all real small. Even when I went to Kingston, the old barn there, the Memorial Center in Kingston, Ontario, it was cool. Like for me, I love playing in the old barns.
For those of our fans who might not be familiar with Kingston as a community, by the way, I know Royal Military College is out there. It is in a lot of ways a military town. What were the crowds like when you were playing there?
Yeah, we didn't draw real well. I know they draw a lot better now, and I think the hockey was just as good back then. A lot of great talent, but didn't get a lot of support.
Well, we, of course, love junior hockey here, but we are so excited to branch out from the kids and bring back the kids who are just young at heart, maybe, who still just want to play for the love of the game. And this announcement of bringing you guys in for the NHL Legends game, and for it to not only be with you two, but for us as Wheat King fans, there's a big couple of names in the history of the franchise. Very few are any bigger than the name Bryan Prop. For us to have the battle of the Bryans, Prop versus Trottier, to be coming on in, it means a whole lot to a lot of Wheat King fans, ourselves included. You guys have done more than a few of your NHL Legend games over the days. What's your history with Bryan Prop?
Well, I'll go first. So Brian's a Saskatchewan kid like myself, and here we are playing this great game in Manitoba and in Brandon. So we're pretty excited. Obviously it's a big stepping stone for him. We didn't play as many games in this little city as he did, but it was a great stepping stone for all of us that played junior hockey. But it's perfectly said. Here's a couple of guys, Bernie and Bryan coming into town, a couple of youngsters at heart, and we're playing a game we love at the age that we are. And Bryan Prop's had some health issues with a stroke, and he's brought himself back tremendously, speaking, walking, skating, and we're so proud of it. So for us to be a part of this, is we're very proud, obviously, but also very excited for the city. Like for us, it's like an opportunity to kind of put the skates on, get a few cheers, bring back some memories, and we're going to bring in a good team. Bernie's done a great job along with myself in bringing some good talent in that's going to put on a good show. So it's going to be a spectacular event.
I can't wait to release some of these names as we get closer to and we're allowed to do stuff like that. We can get on all that because it is going to be absolutely incredible. For those listeners who want to listen back, a few seasons ago, I think about 3-4 years now, we actually had Bryan Prop on the podcast and went through and his incredible recovery. And to think about even from there along the line into where he is today, the fact that we get to see him skate again, it's going to be a very special night for sure. Going back into your playing days, what was it like playing him in his prime?
Yeah, I never played with Bryan, but I got to play against him, and very skilled player, entertaining, when he scored. I thought that was pretty cool. And then when you realize what was, for sure. And, the cool thing for us is now, because like you said, we are kids at heart and still love to play. To put the skates on and go play is really cool. And then to do events like this, come back and have this event here where Bryan played and where Trotz had played too, as well as opponent, obviously. But and to come in and do these things, we really enjoy doing that. I think the kids love it, the fans love it, and it's just a way for us to give back to the communities that support us growing up. So to me, it's a lot of fun, and we really look forward to coming here in March.
You mentioned that you never got a chance to play against Bryan Prop during your respective pro careers. Is there something exciting about the opportunity down the line when you're putting these Legends games together to be on the same team as guys that you got used to playing against?
Well, for me, absolutely. I've always said it, and it's not because he's here right now, but for us to play in these games, it's like you're playing with your brothers, right? Like you may not have played with a guy, but have an opportunity to play an exhibition game with them or charity game like this just to meet the guy. I've never met a player, even the guys that I hated playing against, when you get to play with them after and you get to meet them. I've never met a hockey player I didn't love, and like I say, I'm fortunate to play in these things. I've loved Bryan my whole career, and to play with him and now to play with Bryan. I've played exhibition games with Bryan before. Super guy, and all the guys that are going to be here are just unbelievable people.
Well, it's really kind of fun for me because Bryan played on a team that we had a great rivalry against, the Philadelphia Flyers. So we played him a lot. So we got to see the guffaw a lot. Too many times. We want to take that guffaw and shove it where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
But he's a talented guy and a great kid. Like for me, he's much younger. Like Bernie. Like they're a little younger than me. But for me, it's an opportunity to play with the next generation of really great players. I can remember the first time I played with Bernie. We were in Edmonton. We played in an old timers game, and it was after the game just to get to hang with Bernie and like get to know him as a guy. Like we've crisscrossed in our careers, but just to hang with the guys afterwards and in the locker room, we're all just kind of similar. We come from some place in Canada or U.S. or Europe or something, and we just share stories, and it's really kind of just a laugh fest, and but a real good camaraderie because we share this wonderful history of hockey in the NHL and those experiences. And now we get to come to small towns in Canada and share those same experiences and hopefully bring back some wonderful memories for people that have seen us play through the years. I'm a lot slower and a lot more brittle at age 68. So I'm not dashing around the ice like I was when I was, kind of fearless and reckless. But we also enjoy passing the puck and bringing smiles to the faces that are watching us play.
When the fans come, when they're there that night, they can expect to see obviously their childhood heroes taking to the ice in front of them to get to relive some of that. But it's a very entertaining game that you guys try to put on, isn't it? A lot of crowd interaction moments.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, we're still kids at heart. And for us, when we play these things, chances are good it's their parents that will know who we are and probably appreciate it. We experienced that last night. We had a great event last night, and all we heard was, "Oh God, my dad used to love you," and I can't believe it. I'm here. I'm going to send him pictures and this and that. But for us, it's the kids. We a lot of times we go out and we bring the kids out and play, and they don't know basically who we are, but they know we played in the NHL, and that's a big thrill for them. And we get to hang and play with them. The parents appreciate it. The kids love it, and and so do we.
Yeah, the energy is just so contagious, like from generation to generation. You have a grandparent with the mom and dad with the grandchildren, and to see the excitement and they're praising us, saying, "Oh, thanks for coming to our little town." We're saying, "Hey, well, thank you for the hospitality. This is a great invite." So it's kind of a win-win for all of us. We really enjoy it, and Bernie's right. It's the youngest generation that brings the most energy because they are just so excited to see NHLers come to the town. And we bring maybe some Stanley Cup rings and some hockey cards for the kids, and we pass those out like they're candy, and the kids just eat that up. And the parents, again, they're saying thank you, and we're saying, well, thank you for the invite. But we did. I think we do a great job, Bernie. We're really proud of it. I'm really proud of the players that come and perform. They're very interactive. We're not standoffish. People come up, can we have a picture, an autograph, whatever, and the guy's response is always first class, and we leave hopefully having that town say, wow, those guys were great. And so I'm really proud of the hockey guys, how they handle themselves, and the way they kind of leave the town in a great mood.
Well, I remember seeing a Legends game with yourself here in the Wheat City. I was brand new into my broadcasting career. This would have been like 2004, 2005. And I was tasked with like doing some of the music and stuff at it. And I remember at the time being like super intimidated because I was brand new into meeting anybody of like that kind of thing, like new to radio. And everybody was so amazing. We went out to BP after, and it was this great event. And I still think fondly about it even now. When we announced this, that was one of my first thoughts. So anybody who's thinking about this, if you hear this, you're not from around Brandon, this is one of those events that it's going to be worth the trip in. Now, exactly when and all the details, all those are going to be announced in a little bit, as we got to still do some ironing out the details before we can announce those. But I know there's a lot of excitement in the area. Got to ask you guys this. You got some great jerseys on right now. You've put on a lot of great jerseys over the years. I'm a jersey guy. What's the favorite ones that you ever got to don? For those listeners right now, you didn't get to see the video. We got Bernie wearing my favorite LA Kings jersey. It's the classic purple and gold with the crown.
It's a classic.
And
classic of all classics.
And we got Bryan wearing the dark blue New York Islanders jersey. The classic, of course, logo on the front. But you guys wore some great ones back in the day. What was some of your favorites? Bryan, maybe first.
Well, obviously the Islander jersey, because it's the first jersey I pulled on, and it's that moment where you slide the jersey on, you're playing your first game, your name and number, Trottier 19.
Was it a dark or a light?
It was dark. We played in Kansas City, and for me it was just chilling. It's like the hair is standing up, and I can't wait to call mom and dad, because like it's a moment you want to share with your family, obviously, and then you start calling your buddies that you played with, and what was it like to put that jersey on for the first time? You talk about special jerseys when you put on a Team Canada jersey, or you're putting on an All-Star jersey, and you're representing your country, or you're representing the league, or your conference. Those are real special moments. But it's tough to top those firsts, right? When you put that first jersey on for the first game, you score your first goal. I mean, there's just moments where it just like stand out forever in your mind.
Yeah. Mine probably, obviously this one, same reason as Bryan, right? Like, your first jersey you wear, your number, your name, it's so cool. I was fortunate. Like, Bryan only played for a couple teams. You gotta remember that, other than Team Canada. I got New York, original 6. But to me, Chicago Blackhawks, that's still is still my favorite jersey. I think it's
one of the most iconic logos in all of sports.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Never change it. They went to a third jersey, but it's a black, but it's still the Hawk emblem. It's that one's pretty special.
We love talking favorites here on the podcast. Jerseys are a popular topic. Another one is arenas, something that comes up an awful lot. And because you've been on tours of such smaller communities and gotten to see some real classic small-town arenas, I'm wondering if there are any that really stand out for you in your journeys.
Well, we come through Manitoba, and obviously we get down to like Winkler and Carmen, and Steinbeck, and Selkirk, and cities are just around Winnipeg, for example. Then you go north into Deschambault Lake and Thompson and Dauphin, and those arenas. Every arena has their own little identity, And we did Saskatchewan. We get into really smaller towns because there are no big cities in Saskatchewan outside of Regina and Saskatoon. And all of a sudden, you send yourself. I remember the old Crush can in Moose Jaw
Yep.
was like unique. All those unique buildings are spectacular. But going back to like your roots, obviously you go back to your, like the little hometown. You go back into like Swift Current and those teams that you represented in Lethbridge, and you remember those arenas. That big blue curtain at one end of Lethbridge was pretty spectacular. And that takes you right into the NHL in the original 6 buildings: Montreal Forum, Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Gardens, Detroit Olympia, before they took all these buildings down. It was like you're living your boyhood dreams and moments, right? And saying, wow, Bobby Orr played in Boston Gardens. Wow. Just like Jean Beliveau played here in the Montreal Forum, and Stan Mikita at Chicago Stadium, and that organ in Chicago, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
That was just like just chilling moments, right?
Yeah, to me,
That's
like,
awesome.
Chicago, the old stadium, it was a small arena, but they were right on top of you. There was like 22,000 fans.
Cheered through the whole anthem.
Oh,
right?
man, the organ goes, and I tell people, we played them. They put us out the year Pittsburgh won the Cup when they beat them. I was in Edmonton in the semifinals, and I remember starting that night, and I honestly had to put my head down, which I do most time, but and I started laughing to myself. Like, it was so friggin' loud. Like, it was ridiculous. You couldn't hear a thing. Like, it's one thing in any arena, in a regular season game, but now when you get in a playoff game, and now we're in the semifinals, that thing was so loud, and you couldn't hear a thing. They scream from the minute they start. You can't hear the person singing, and it's as loud as they can sing with the organ. But I tell people the problem was I heard that organ go off 8 times that night, so it wasn't good.
Wasn't good.
No, but that stadium was
the opposition.
spectacular. Yeah,
but you had to wear the logos. You got.
I did.
Yeah, you got to hear the organ a few times.
I got
your goals too.
Yeah, for me, when I signed there, they just moved into the United Center. So, but still, playing in Chicago was pretty special.
It's really cool. It's really hard to explain the adrenaline that's going through your blood, like your veins, right, burning before the game, and all of a sudden the crowd is making so much noise. Whether you're the opposition or you're the hometown, it just fires you up even more. And it's like you don't feel at the end of your fingertips. You're just you want to get going. You're like, oh my God, let's get this game going already.
I know it's a smaller scale, but when you play these games, is there still the same kind of feeling when the crowd gets going right before you take to the ice?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. But the energy of the crowd is so important. Like, we could go on the ice, put it and play the game or do a scrimmage, and it's not the same. But you get the especially the kids. You get the kids screaming in the audience, and you get the fans laughing and clapping. I mean, that just brings us up and brings you up to another level. And then that stirs the other moments, and we just we get fired up about it. It's great.
I think, and I say this all the time, and probably until I don't have it, I will probably keep playing. But the minute I put my skates on and go out, and you just kind of get that feeling. It's the coolest thing. Obviously, you're not skating out in the United Center or the Forum, but I mean, you're still a kid at heart, right? And it's still fun to play, and especially, you can go out with just old timers league or something, but when you get to go out and play with your former players or peers, and that is still really cool to me.
And we're hoping that there's going to be some local talent playing against us here in Brandon when we come through. We understand, right? We want to see like the local talent. That pumps the crowd up as well, because they're playing their hearts out against us. And if we have a goalie and the crowd is cheering for their locals with all their might.
Yeah.
And it's great. And they still cheer for us. We're like, hey, it's a win-win for the crowd. They get to cheer for both teams.
Yeah, no, when the fan base hears about all the opportunities and different things, and then some of the special guests that are going to be popping up for this, I think they're going to really get into it, and it's going to be a lot of fun that night. We are recording this right before our game on a Saturday night, before we're going to take on the Swift Current Broncos. It's like 5:30, and appreciate you guys doing this. Before we actually do wrap up, though, and get out of here, Rob, any last questions for the guys while we got them?
Just one, because I have it on good authority that you're going to get an opportunity to speak to the two teams tonight, and I know on your resume, as long as there are stints, very successful ones, in the coaching ranks. Is that something that you adjusted to really easily after being a player, and do you still enjoy addressing a room?
Well, I can add, Bryan actually coached. For me, I was fortunate enough, I played for Daryl Sutter for a few stops actually, and for me it was I was always an LA King at heart, and I watched them play. They're a great team. Their power play was terrible. I asked a couple times if I'd come and just help, and they thought, no, you got to come, you got to be full time or something. So when Daryl actually got hired there, I said to Daryl, look, your power play sucks. Can I just come and help? I don't want a job. I just want to help, because that's what we do, right? Exactly. I love helping. And he said, yeah, absolutely. So I went there in January when he went there. They had a homestand. So it was over. I said, what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to come on the road. I've never been on the road team. We go Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. We win, tie. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to stay. I said, all right. So, and I actually hung with the players more. I just love being around the guys, trying to help them out. And for me, it was awesome. I love helping people. If we're golfing, I want to help you. If we're skating, I want to help you. So I love that. I love helping kids and working with that. Bryan was more of a coach, a lot more responsibility than what I had. Mine was fun for me.
Yeah, and I've seen Bernie in action with young kids, and especially the junior ranks, and he's like a Pied Piper. Like, they just stop. Everybody just is silence, right? And you're not used to that. Because when we're in the locker room, and you're one of the guys, and everybody's talking in the locker room, we're not addressing the team. We're just part of a team that's rah-rahing the guys and saying smart things before the game and reminders and that kind of stuff. But for me, it was like working on communication skills and standing up in front of people and not having that anxiety and feeling really comfortable, because it's all in our brains. We just got to get it out the right way. But we had good coaches, like I had Al Arbor, Scotty Bowman, Bob Johnson, and prior to that in junior hockey, all the coaches at Erlingerfield, Stan Dunn, and how they address the team and learning from them and keeping it short. Don't make it too long. You're going to lose the crowd, and that's why they call them in the military, they don't call them, they call them briefings. And for us, those meetings were important as a player. And so you just mind yourself and say, hey, if I was a player, what would I want to hear now? How would I say it? And what's the tone? And those things just come back, So just it doesn't matter if you're addressing little kids. Like one time I had these 8-year-olds, and the coach comes and asks me, my son was on the team, he was the goalie. And he said, would you come in and give them the pregame speech? I said, absolutely. The young kids like, this is going to be really quick. I said, okay, guys, my puck mentality out there. When you see that puck, it's my puck. And let's outskate them, outshoot them, outscore them. What do you say? Any questions? Well, you never ask a bunch of 8-year-olds if they have any questions, This one little kid puts his arm up. He goes, did you know I have a new goldfish? Oh, I was like, no, okay. Marty's got a new goldfish. Another kid goes, what's the goldfish's name?
Oh, God.
Scooter. Okay, yeah. Scooter. Let's win one for Scooter. Well, this goldfish was not part of my motivational speech, but I'm now a motivational genius because those kids played their hearts out for Scooter the goldfish. Scooter needs another goal. Come on, guys, let's go. So you got to know your audience.
This is so auspicious with Scooter being downstairs in the room, our trainer.
Our Scooter, yeah. So our equipment guy's name is Scooter. So right now when you go to give the pregame speech, you can still get the boys fired up to win it for Scooter.
Yeah. Let's go for Scooter.
And it's going to completely translate. That's fantastic.
And he'll tell you he has the memory of a goldfish too, so it's perfect.
Yeah. Guys, great to have you here. Thank you for being a part of the night. Go and get our team pumped. Get Swift a little bit less pumped if you're going to talk to them before the game too.
Okay.
And
say a quick hi to the team.
And just thanks for being here. Excited to have you guys, and I know our fans are, especially for the Legends Autograph Alley after the game and the big announcement. It's going to be awesome.
Pleasure, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Our thanks again to those two NHL legends, Rob. That was a lot of fun.
I think you and I spent most of the interview grinning at each other, didn't we? I mean, it was just so surreal.
I mean, I love talking to our players. I do. It is fun to ask a question, though, and just have guys talk for like 5 minutes. Just expand on it, go back and forth, play off each other. I mean, obviously, just experienced pros at this thing. I mean, those guys have done sportsman's dinners. They have done nonstop, like these games and different banquets and meeting people. It just so extremely friendly. And knowing everybody's name that night. They would, even in that video earlier we played where they went around and asked every player's name, Bryan Trottier has this incredible ability to remember names. I mean, when he met us and we did that podcast, we then went and did something else and came back and hey Chris, like he remembered. And I know like Mike's wife Cheryl, he said her name multiple times. Even like he just very, very smart, witted, both of them, and very with it, and obviously great speakers. So that was great to have them on.
And in a social setting, the ability to remember names is a real skill. I mean, for me, names are so much of my job, and yours too.
Are
as
you
a
good
PA
at that
announcer.
though? I'm bad at remembering though. I don't take the time to be like, okay, I need to remember this now. And it always takes me a few goes for some reason. I'm not good at that. I would love to be like how Mr. Trottier was.
I'm used to being able to memorize names when I have them on a sheet in front of me and can roll through that sheet at my leisure.
Yeah.
When it comes to names in a social setting and in person, I'm not nearly as good. And I do take time. It takes some trial and error sometimes. And if I really absolutely positively need to remember somebody's name, it takes a genuine mental effort to do so. You've got to really grab the issue and wrestle with it. You've got to make sure you're saying after you shake the person's name and after you've kind of parted from them, okay, I kind of repeat the name to myself a few times to try and help it stick. Sometimes it works. Other times my brain is on vacation, but they do such a good job of it. So naturally gifted at that. And there's a certain charisma to both men that is really perfect for what they've been doing and what they will be doing in Brandon in a couple months.
All I'm thinking about while we were saying that as well at the same time is the famous Office scene where Michael is giving his business lecture about how he remembers names, picking physical characteristics off people. Not probably a very good way to do it, but it could be efficient.
I would not do that myself because I've watched way too many comedy shows with way too many dark lines of humor that I would just start picking out really, really unfortunate characteristics.
Speaking of dark lines, our jerseys, our white jerseys. Okay, so here's a little segue. What is that beeping? Oh, it's my computer. It's all of our Facebook going crazy right now on a couple of posts, including the big announcement of the walleye jerseys. So we have announced now officially on the podcast last week, but now on social media. That's the digging you're hearing. There's my computer in the background because I wanted to play that I Am 40 clip. We have got the walleye returning this year on January the 1st, but not just the walleye. We're not the only fish on the water. The Lake Diefenbaker Slough Sharks, a.k.a. the Swift Current Broncos, are the ones taking on the walleye. So the Slough Sharks are the Broncos' alternate identity, and for the first time, Rob, they're going to be wearing those jerseys on the road here in Brandon so we can have ourselves a good old Manitoba-Saskatchewan fishing derby.
We are both of us taking the new year, new me to a new extreme on January 1st. I will say that I have seen firsthand some of the preparation that goes into putting together a night like this from both sides. So it's really impressive that both groups have been able to get together and settle on this one night. I've also seen and known that from pretty much the moment the walleye idea entered serious conversation and became a genuine possibility to the moment where it actually happened last year, you've wanted the fishing derby. This has been on your list, and I'm really excited to see it come happen.
If there was one thing that I could actually get for my birthday today, for my 40th, it's that I wanted to announce this. So the fact that we got to announce this publicly today, that is awesome. Like, I am smiling ear to ear the fact that we get to actually do this. I wanted it to be the home and home, and we tried for that. We just don't have that same weekend with Swift. It didn't work out. They didn't want to do a different night for when they were doing their home portion of this. I get it. But the fact that we just get at least this one game and it's here, and it's the walleye versus the Slough Sharks, this is it. Because again, the whole idea, we've played the Broncos a lot over the years. We've never played the Slough Sharks, right? Like, there's something fun about it. And the fact that we're the two fishing teams, we can have fun with the whole fishing battle of the fish and the derby. But even going forward, I want us to play the Cobra Chickens.
Yes.
I want us to play, if it's going to be the bananas or the berries, whatever they want to switch it up with, whatever. But whatever team's doing their alternate identities, we need to have this alternate universe where even as the dub, I'm bringing this up at the league meeting, there should be one weekend where everybody has to wear their alternate identity uniforms, and it's a home and home series. For merchandise, for the fans, for just to switch it up a little bit. Minor League Baseball does such a great job with a lot of this stuff. I know that we're, very historical and it's hockey and there's certain things people are like, I want to just watch the game. I know you want to watch the game.
We're traditionalists in a lot of ways.
I get it. It's hockey, but we got to have fun too. And this is just a fun announcement. But the Slough Sharks and the Walleye, the game itself is going to be a pretty serious game. It's a division game. It's, the kickoff to the second half, basically, right? You got your holiday hockey games and then Jan 1. And, I mean, guys are rolling right before the trade deadline. There's a lot of importance on the ice that night. But for us to have fun with what's happening in the jerseys and just to make that game extra special, it is going to be pretty cool.
No question about it. It's going to be a really cool thing. And it was something that we talked about. We talked about it as a wouldn't it be cool if thing. And now to actually have a time and date for it is really awesome. I will say, now that we're on board and the Raiders are on board and the Broncos are on board and the Saskatoon Blades are on board, how long before this spreads over the entire Western Hockey League like you were hoping for? Because the case really does make itself from a team perspective. If you look at the just how fast fans scooped up our Walleye jerseys last year, which mirrors just how fast they scooped up the Slough Shark jerseys in Swift Current. Fans go all out for this. And the fact that teams are able to do this and have consistently good fan support, to me, like I said, the case makes itself. I think you're going to see other teams jumping on this particular bandwagon before too long.
I mean, it's one of those things where it wasn't even just the hockey fans who were buying it. Like for us, it was a lot of just the fishing community.
Yeah,
because
I didn't know this.
Like they wanted to have the walleye. Even me as a fisherman, like of course, like that's where it all started. Like I know that I want gear that has a fish on it, right? So to get that, the hockey and the fishing, there was fishing pages who were sharing our gear, and they were, people want that for Christmas gifts. That's a whole other market for these teams, or even like the Cobra Chicken. That's just an amazing logo. Like, I wanted to have that. So I contacted them. I was like, I need to have something with Cobra Chickens. I'm never going to wear any of PA Raider gear.
No, but Cobra Chickens, you
a
very
Cobra
well might.
Chicken I would totally wear because it's just kind of, it kind of walks that line. I'm just going to load up this video here right now because it is the podcast. You know what? It's a video, though. I was going to play the video again, but really for the people watching, it would make sense. But for everybody listening, maybe not. I'm going to release this video, though, on social media tomorrow. And here's what it's going to be. I was going to play it now just so that you can know why we are talking about this now. Our jerseys have had an issue. So the white jerseys that have gone out, and not just with the Wheat Kings, there's been a number of them with other teams across different leagues with the jersey provider. There's a problem with the whites. And it's not a matter of our guys not knowing how to wash clothes, Rob.
Yeah, they were always doing it in the Assiniboine River. That's not new.
That's right. It was nothing to do, with the hot and the cold, because the Assiniboine River is the Assiniboine River.
Yeah,
we're going to wash our clothes in there, obviously.
I wash myself in there.
It just is what it is. But the guys know how to wash. So, of course, it wasn't that. But, our white jerseys and socks have been looking worse and worse, like a light blue into a gray. In the last few games especially, Rob, I know for me up in the box, it has been crazy noticeable.
Little disheveled, yeah, a little bit.
And so just our whites are looking very gray and dull and light blue. And it's just because of a problem with the fabric. So a little bit of news here on the podcast. We are no longer going to be wearing those jerseys. So those jerseys are now officially pulled. So this changes a little bit, Rob, because the whole season in the Dub is set up that you wear your lights at home in the first half and your darks in the second half. That way it gives the fans a chance for you to see your full set of jerseys throughout the season, and you get your thirds, alternates in there and your different theme jerseys. So it's great for the fans, it's great all that. This does change things now, though, because now teams coming in, we have to wear either our grays or our darks until we get the new replacement jerseys in.
A bit of an emergency situation on that one. Not something we foresaw, not something we're alone in, by the way. As Chris mentioned, there are teams kind of throughout North America that are struggling with this for whatever reason, and the Wheat Kings are no exception, so we're kind of making do with the best we have.
If other teams have different colors as their primary, as their lights, there's some are affected, some aren't as much. Any team that has, like ours, that's the white, and especially with any of the other colors that have been running worse with the other ones, it's causing a whole situation. So anyway, the league was well aware of it, but there is a very cheeky video that, there was a post made on a certain, Facebook group that's notorious for just complaining about everything. And, and truthfully, like, we had a little bit of fun with it. So anyway, look out for a special video about washing the jerseys Wheat City style. And it kind of ties into the walleye as well a little bit there. But anyway, so if you're curious, why aren't the Wheat Kings wearing white jerseys? The next little while at home has been all gray or black. for some weird reason, that's going to be why. So it's better than light blue.
Well, yeah, okay, it is.
Winnipeg Ice. They just still ingrained in me that color.
You know what's funny? You mentioned the Winnipeg Ice. I've been looking up their, let's call it legacy over the last few weeks because we've had players who have connections to the team.
Yeah, that's true.
Coming in and out of the building. And I was curious to see just how many of them were still left in the league.
Peyton Kettles, just more recently, was just here.
2 years later, there are a dozen players league-wide who even so much as played games for the Winnipeg Ice. More than anything, what that should demonstrate is just how fast things change in junior hockey. It took 2 years for that franchise to be down to almost
Only 12 players left.
No remaining influence in the league. And that'll
Wow.
drop. That'll drop because Evan Friesen, Daniel Hauser, and Braden Edwards are all born in 2004. They'll be graduating this year.
Well, there will be a couple of trade trees, at least involving a lot of their draft picks, though, going forward.
goodness, yes.
When they went all in their last season in the league. So for other teams to track the history of the Ice, it'll be going on for decades. But yes, for current players in there. But again, I guess that exactly shows how they went out.
And junior hockey changes like that
so fast. As we look to finally change the page on some home games. Rob, have fun on the road. Get out of here for a bit. Have fun this weekend, but enjoy Alberta. The team is heading out for 3 games in 3 days. You guys are going to see pretty much all of Alberta in that time.
The only stretch of 3-3 this year for the Wheat Kings,
which is amazing. We talked about last
more
week.
Forgiving
Crazy.
schedule. Yeah, so much better. And the Wheat Kings are going to not exactly have it easy on this 3-3. I mean, you start in Medicine Hat for crying out loud. They're leading the Central Division. But it's 3 opponents in 3 nights. The Wheat Kings have beaten the Tigers once this year. They've beaten the Oil Kings once this year. They've not seen the Rebels at all this year. This should be 3 pretty good games. And at a time where the Eastern Conference is, well, quite literally 3 games worth of points separates like 2nd and 9th, it's just critical to be picking up points on this road trip.
If you remember back, the game versus Medicine Hat in Med Hat, it was one that the Wheat Kings wanted to forget. It was a bad loss. Was 6-1, I believe? Yes, 6-1. And we talked about when that game came back here, that Med Hat was in town, how that was a measuring stick game, how you wanted to see how the guys were going to bounce back after that. And it was a great game. That was the 4-0 victory. Shutout.
You said the word, but it was.
It was that night. Then you get into this. Okay, getting back into Med Hat. What are we in store for? You had 6-1, 4 rip. This is going to be another big test. Can they go into their barn and at least make this a tight, contested game?
And the Tigers are in a bit of an interesting spot right now because they're getting healthy, much like the Wheat Kings. Of course, you may remember that Wheat Kings win here. They were not healthy at all. They were basically running 3 lines. They don't have to do that anymore. Now they get to actually play with something resembling their full roster, but the Tigers are kind of in the same boat. They're getting healthy again, too. So what's that all going to look like? I don't know. The Tigers aren't going to be caught off guard, though. That's for sure.
It's going to be a great game to watch or to listen. Remember, of course, all the games are going to be on Watch CHL. You can get on the app, or you can listen on Q Country, on the app, on the website, on just traditional radio, 91.5 or 880 on the AM dial here locally. And then, Rob, so you guys go Med Hat up to Red Deer, as we talked about last week. The first time I'm finally going to see the Rebels here this season. Then finish it off with a trip to Edmonton before hiking all the way back.
Yeah, and Edmonton's game is actually going to be an afternoon start, which has its ups and downs. You know, on the one hand, that means that you're getting out of there earlier and therefore getting home sooner. On the other hand, it means you arrived the night before from Red Deer. It's an hour to 2 hours to make that journey. And when you get there, you're playing hockey very, very shortly afterwards. Suppose you get into the hotel around midnight. That would mean that, 16 hours later, you're playing hockey again. It's a quick turnaround against a team that's got some firepower.
He's got to draw on that U11 experience. Remember the days when they had to play 3 tournament games in one day.
And some of these guys, I'm sure, miss those days to an extent. And we've got some hockey junkies on the team.
Yeah, if my kids can do it, they can do it. It's fine. They'll be fine, Rob. 16 hours, 2 games, plenty of time. So yeah, we finally got to kick the guys out of here, the building out for a little bit. It's going to be nice to get a bit of a breather for the weekend for us guys who only do the home games. 353 consecutive home games. I've now worked full-time for the team. And this last little stretch, Rob, I was saying, out of 353, the last 7 have been some of them more daunting for some reason because they all came so close together that November has been a whirlwind. I am so excited to get just one weekend of a breather, and then I am so ready for the weekend after that. We have been pumping out to the schools yesterday, today, and tomorrow we're finishing off. We are going to every school in the Brandon School Division, and we are dropping off the letters for the teddy bear toss game. This is one of the biggest games of the season. It's always fun. It's not just teddies. It's the teddy, toque, and mitt toss as we look to get donations for Christmas cheer, Christmas dinner for the hamper program. It is going to be a very awesome night. And Rob, from the players to the staff to the game day staff, this is seriously like the game.
Of the games that we know before the schedule is laid out are coming, of the promotions that we know we are going to do, this one and Willie's birthday are always the two at the top of the list. Every single time. These are the ones that draw the most attention, the most excitement from us, the most excited response from the fans. These are the big ones. And, you know, the fact that it's a division rivalry game with the Raiders coming into town that night doesn't hurt either.
It really doesn't. And it is one of those ones that is so special for the kids. And again, everybody kind of gets into the whole charity aspect of it, of course, and doing the donations that night. It's a fantastic community initiative, but for all of the joy that it gets to bring. And when the schedule does come out, you're right. We literally look at it. We go, okay, what's the closest game we can get to Halloween? That's Willie's birthday. And what's the big Saturday in early December that we can get, guys? And that's it. And this is going to be it. So it's going to be a great weekend. There is 2 games that weekend, though. It's not a single game weekend. Friday night, that's the Red Deer Rebels. That's right. That's their first time here this season. So we get to see them on the road, and then we get to welcome them here. And then, yes, the Prince Albert Raiders. You know what I do like when we were in the schools, especially today for some reason, the school we were at Kirkcaldy Heights. We were in a couple of the classrooms, and the kids we did a little spiel with the players, and they would ask. Today I had Luke Shipley and Adam Belushko, who, by the way, so we go into each classroom and we introduce the players, and the players then tell the kids about the game, you know, why they should be excited about it, what we do with the throwing of the teddies and all that, and then we drop off the actual invite for the parents to get the free ticket for the kid to come to the game. And then afterwards, the kids quickly will be like, you know, any questions? And they'll put up their hands. A couple of the kids asked, who are you guys playing? When the guy said Prince Albert Raiders, 3 of the classrooms, multiple kids went, oh, like that did something for them. They're like, oh, that's going to be a good one. Like, yeah, it is going to be a good one. So, you know, I love that when kids get pumped up just to hear about like the opponent. And
even our young fans are dialed in.
They know that there's no easy game versus PA. Usually those are tough, fun games to come watch. So it will be another really good one. But parents, if you're listening to this and you got a kid, kindergarten to grade 5 in Brandon School Division, look out in the backpacks this week because they are bringing home those forms that'll get a free ticket to the Teddy Bear Toss game. Thanks to some great local sponsors who help us out with that every season.
Absolutely, and we always appreciate their support, and we appreciate the support the fans show on that night. I mean, when the cascade of teddy bears comes over the glass, that's a once-in-a-season moment. You can't replicate that. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it really is. So it's going to be a great night there that week, but of course, we got lots of games on the schedule, so if you're going to be there, if you're listening to the podcast, by the way, and you're not from Brandon, if you're from away but you're coming home for the holidays, the next real big one, so we have that 2 games. We have the last game before the break, the Tuesday the 17th, then the guys are all gone for Christmas break for a bit, but when we get back, we have the game on December 27th. Now, Rob, I do not like working on December 27th, so close after Christmas, but I actively push for us to get this game every year because I know what it's like when we actually get to game time, and it's really special and fun. We call it holiday hockey. If we play on the 28th or the 29th, it's not as good. There's something about when people come from Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, Ontario, they're coming home, they come back to Brandon, they spend Christmas here, you spend Boxing Day, you watch the World Juniors. When the Wheat Kings play that next day, we see a big bump in attendance. And they stay for that extra day, but then you get tired of your family and you want to be home in time for New Year's Eve. You want to get home, you want to party with your friends for New Year's Eve. So you still have that 28th, 29th, even 30th to go and do the travel. But when we can play on that 27th night, it is always a big, big night, and we got it this year again. So like I said, even though it's so close to Christmas and, sometimes we're out visiting and doing things to family, I'm like, sorry, when we get here, though, it's like a homecoming game because you see people you only see once every year or every 2 years, but they're back in town, and it's a very great night. So if you're listening and you're out of town and you want to circle one game around the holiday season, Rob, that one is always awesome.
You touched on it there. It's kind of in that sweet spot for people who are coming back to Brandon for vacation, but who aren't ready to quite go home yet. And for that as well, think of it this way, some of the players have more family members coming in as well. I think, when we talk to people at the front desk, they'll tell you that that's the time of year when if a parent can be present for their kid's game, they will. So on a lot of fronts, it's a big game, and we're looking forward to it again.
So whatever games we can see coming up, hopefully at a few of them, but take advantage of the games now because once January hits, you're only going to get 3 chances on home ice. So things get a little bit dicey once the guys hit that big road trip.
And one of those 3, I got to tell you, tickets aren't going to last long, something tells me, for our fishing derby.
January the 1st is going to be a lot of fun. For a New Year's Day game, I think it's going to be a blast. So
absolutely,
get your ticket for the Sluice Sharks versus the Walleye, or get your ticket for any other Wheat King game. You can get them all online at BWK Tickets, so you can check it out at wheatkings.com. I think that's going to do it for this week's edition of the podcast, Rob.
I do believe we've run the gambit, Falko.
I do appreciate everybody for listening. What is that? 47 minutes, just us, plus the interview. We went over an hour again this week.
Good, healthy one this time around.
We could just keep chatting. It's good. It's good. All right.
It's Tuesday.
Have yourself a great week there, folks, and look forward to talking again next week. Thanks for listening to The Weekly Harvest. Until then, cheers.